right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Art Talk. So today, what I wanted to talk about was the evolution of your own style. I remember when I was younger and I didn't have a style. When I was, drawing from the age of 6, eventually get into high school where I'm really drawing. Don't really have any influences yet. I was drawing. It's kind of weird when I think back about it. Like, I love Norman Rockwell. I love some painters. I love some illustrators, but I wasn't necessarily following any one style. I guess maybe I just didn't know at that point. Just, oh, yeah, I guess you could learn from other people, right? Instead of just going to a class or something like, oh, wow, I can actually learn from someone else's style. And then I discovered Mad Magazine when I was a senior in high school. And from that point, I started to go, gosh, this style and Mort Drucker, Jack Davis, it was like intriguing. And then I started working professionally and doing caricatures in theme parks and was introduced to other artists by those artists. And then you start to see things and start to understand. So at that point, there was no real style. It's a very naive. There's actually a movement of painting style called like naive painting, and it's just people who just never been taught, never studied other artists. They just do what they do, and we all have that. So that's something that we got to understand, that we all intuitively have our own unique style. It's just the way that we write. It's the way that we talk, just our voice, the way that we sound, the way that we even walk is our own unique style. We all got our own unique fingerprints, right? Our own unique DNA. There's all these aspects that are very unique and personal to us. So that's the exact same thing that's happening with your art. If you didn't study anyone, didn't copy anyone, you're just going to be drawing just from whatever you can decipher, whatever you think is best, right? But then there comes a time in the evolution of oneself as an artist where you start to realize that, I want to get better. And I think once you realize that you want to get better and you want to improve, the only logical progression at that point is to find those other artists to help you get there. So then you start discovering them, you start copying them, you start doing that, and then you're starting just to be influenced. So all these influences are coming in. Now you're starting, not only are you having a better understanding of fundamentals, because that you're just learning the basic fundamentals, which is of course something you want to do, but now you're incorporating, besides the fundamentals of construction and design and all those elements, now you're starting to put in a style. But it's still not there yet, right? And then if you get into the animation industry at very early on, what ends up happening is you end up being influenced by a lot of different shows that you end up working on, and now you got all these different voices in your head, and then you don't even know what style you are, but you're a competent artist. You're a competent draftsman. You can draw. I could draw in that style. I could draw in that style. But what is my style? And that's something that for yourself, you're going to have to just determine at what point do you feel that you almost want to stop trying to mimic and take on other people's styles. That's something that's going to happen for you. I realized that I was really heavily into Mort Drucker, Jack Davis, and I was studying those guys like crazy. So a lot of my drawing style really felt like them. And it was at that point I realized I don't want to just be the clone, because people would always tell me it's just like, and even Mort Drucker himself said, don't be a clone of someone. That's not going to progress you or move you forward, because that person already does that. You got to find your own voice. You got to be able to do that. So that always stuck with me, and I realized I can't be a clone. I don't want to do that. I got to be diversified. I got to just show a lot of different things. And then at that point, I felt like I had enough knowledge. And then I got onto the show Kim Possible, and then Kim Possible, I really felt something switched there. Something happened. I was very heavily influenced by Al Hirschfeld at the time too. So I got all these illustrators in me. I got all these, cartoonists in me. All these different people are in me. And then I'm starting just while that you start to form something, and something changes, and there's no magic potion, unfortunately, but eventually you start to hit that strive. And then at that point, I think you got to decide for yourself, is this something that I just want to continuously work at? I think I've landed on something here. I think there's something unique here, something that I want to say. That's when you kind of start sticking to that, and then you start moving those influences away from you. And I think that's the best thing. And another thing that always stuck with me was a cartoonist, a political cartoonist. I don't know where I saw it, why I saw it, but I did. And he was talking about, he was so influenced by all these other great political art cartoonists, like Conrad especially, where he was just a clone of them and he didn't want to be. So what he did, he went drastic. He got rid of all his books. This was before the internet, before everything else. All his books, all his magazines, so he could no longer look at their artwork anymore, just cut himself off and realize that I just gotta find my own voice, and then spend all his time trying to find that voice for himself, stumbled upon some things, said, okay, this feels good, this feels a little different. And at that point, he started just having his own voice, and that's what you do. So that sort of like worked for him. So at a certain point, you just got to understand that it's an evolution, that you're going to constantly be going through trying to discover this until you're going to hit a certain point. And when you hit that certain point, you're going to realize it. But still keep in mind, if you want to work in the animation industry, you got to be a chameleon. You got to be extremely versatile. They're not looking for just your style. But if they see in your portfolio that you're showing your sketchbook and your own personal style, that's great. That's just an extra little bonus. But now that you're also showing this variety, if of course you're trying to get a specific job working in the say children's book illustration market, or just book market illustration, and into that area you want to do advertising illustration, art directors from all these places expect you to have your specific voice. So they're going to you specifically because you got a style. That's something that you do. It's unrecognized, just anyone that looks at it goes, oh, that's a so-and-so, that's a so-and-so, right? So that's what they're looking for, and that's why they're coming to you. So you got to determine in your evolution of your style too, are you trying to get into the animation industry, or are you trying to get into the advertising industry? And decide that. You can have two different portfolios, but make sure that you do at that point, especially if you're going towards advertisers. You just want to show them one voice. But that's what you got to determine for yourself, and that's going to help you start to say, okay, now I'm going to start to find my own voice. And another thing that happens in animation, I'm sorry that I'm all over the place here. Another thing that happens in animation is when you're tasked with a new project where they go, this happened in my whole career, especially after Kim Possible. We love what you did on Kim Possible, but we want you to design this show or do something but completely different. We don't want it to look anything like Kim Possible. So I was always thrown out of just doing what I started to get comfortable with. And that's, I think, why I was working on a lot of my own things, working on my own prints, doing my own interpretations of things, because I wanted my style. I wanted just to draw the way that I felt comfortable drawing. And so that's something that you got to just, lost my train of thought there, just keep in mind with the, when you're having to just develop for so many different potential companies where you're forced to try to find a new style. Okay, what can I do that just feels different? And put aside your references. And I think sometimes, even besides that, I think it's always good to know what's out in the market. Because it sort of prepares you. And if you can see, then you can, I want to push away from that. I want to push away from that. But one of the best ways to almost like find that style is truly go back to your natural drawing. Even draw blindly, just the way that I teach in the courses at Silver Drawing Academy, where I just talk about just the memory sketching and just drawing from your memory, and just also the blind feeling drawing, where you're doing blind feeling sketches and doing those things, because that can form an evolution of a style. All right. But I don't, the one thing I just want to end this with is, don't get so caught up right now, worried about trying to find that style, especially if you're young. Don't try to go, oh my God, I got to find my style. Again, don't put that pressure on yourself. The bottom line is, it'll come. It evolves. It'll come. When the time's right for you to look at someone's work or not look at someone's work, that's when the timing will happen. But I think as long as you just keep working on your skill set, your observational skills, trying to bring life and feeling and emotion into your drawings, that's the most important thing. All right. And that's it. Other than that, just if you're interested in attending the workshop in New York City with myself and Tom Fluhardy, where we're going to be breaking down just design and observation and so many other things, be sure just to check out the website that I have listed below, which is just at the Silver Drawing Academy /impact with a capital I. All right. Take it easy, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care.